which is the irrigation with reclaimed water in an urban watershed and nutrient levels in adjacent streams by Anamarie Rivera. Recent research regarding I guess, what's going on with reclaimed water service sites and secondary consequences as a result from that. So it's all yours.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Excellent. All right. Thank you for the introduction. My name is Anamarie Rivera. I am a graduate of University of South Florida, and this was part of my thesis research. The results were published in the Water Environment Research Journal in November of 2020, thanks to the persistent efforts of my professors at USF, who are my co-authors here. Next slide, please. So the purpose was to see if there is an impact from reclaimed water irrigation on local surface waters in an urban watershed. The data reviewed was from a 6-year period from 2009 to 2014. And the first comparison was between the Pinellas County tertiary treated reclaimed water and the city of St. Petersburg secondary treated reclaimed water. And the concentrations of both total nitrogen and total phosphorus were compared. And then the second comparison was of the total nitrogen and total phosphorus at 4 creek monitoring sites. So within an urban watershed, the Joes Creek watershed, Bond Creek is the receiving waterway of the service area for tertiary treated reclaimed water from Pinellas County. And then Miles Creek is the receiving waterway of the service area for secondary treated reclaimed water from the city of St. Petersburg. And then Joes Creek proper is the main channel, and that was selected for comparison as there's no reclaimed water service near 2 sites on Joes Creek. So we had 2 control sites. Next slide, please. So my thesis research consisted of an extensive literature review. These are just a few of the high-level points regarding reclaimed water as a beneficial reuse versus reclaimed water as a contributing factor to non-point source nutrient pollution in our surface waters. So in Florida, 40 to 60% of potable water, which is our drinking water, is used for landscape irrigation. So reclaimed water is widely accepted in addressing water shortages and water conservation measures. In 2015, Florida was classified as a leading user of reclaimed water along the US Eastern Coast. There are more than 500 wastewater treatment plants in Florida that generate reclaimed water. Not all wastewater treatment plants generate reclaimed water, but there are 500 that do. And secondary treatment is the minimum required by Florida law. And homeowners frequently use 2 to 3 times more water than what a plant needs. So when reclaimed water is the source of irrigation, any excess watering is a non-point source pollution or a contributing factor. And urban watersheds, because of their sheer development, are highly susceptible to pollution from non-point source activities. Next slide, please. So as a St. Pete native, a student at USF, and a program manager for nutrient reduction in Pinellas County government, I was able to select a study area that was essentially in my own backyard, and that is the Joes Creek watershed in St. Pete, Pinellas Park area. So the image on the left identifies nutrient impaired watersheds at the time of my research, which included the Joes Creek watershed. And then on the right, of course, is a little breakdown of the Joes Creek watershed, as well as the various subbasins. And then click one more time and there'll be another image that comes on. Okay, so this is actually a graphic of the tributaries within the Joes Creek watershed. So the one at the top with the yellow dots, so the top waterway is Bond Creek, and the yellow dots are the customers for this research of tertiary treated reclaimed water. And the white star, I don't know if you can see it real well, but the white star on there is the location of the water monitoring site, thank you, on Bond Creek. And then at the bottom, the purple dots are the customers of secondary treated reclaimed water. And that waterway closest there is Miles Creek, and the white star is the location of the surface water monitoring site. And then in the middle running horizontally there is Joe's Creek proper. And there are 2 control sites on there, 2 white stars that indicate the control sites. Next slide, please. Okay, so these were the results comparing total nitrogen, which is the graph on the top, and total phosphorus, which is the graph on the bottom. And this is coming from the reclaimed water, so the discharged water from each wastewater treatment plant. The orange lines are the secondary treatment concentrations, and the blue lines are the tertiary treatment concentrations. So it is obvious there is significantly more total nitrogen and total phosphorus in the reclaimed water generated by secondary treatment than the reclaimed water generated by tertiary treatment. Makes sense, expected. The Pinellas County total nitrogen ranged from 0.8 milligrams per liter to 10.2 milligrams per liter, and that included outliers, so that was all the data. And then for St. Pete, the total nitrogen ranged from 5.2 milligrams per liter to 35.9 milligrams per liter, including outliers. And as you heard Mr. Littlejohn say that the FDEP limit for total nitrogen for secondary treatment is 20 milligrams per liter. So you can see some issues right there. The Pinellas County total nitrogen mean, so the mean concentration for tertiary treatment from the Pinellas County plant is 2.16 milligrams per liter. And the mean for the city of St. Pete, the total nitrogen mean is 18.6 milligrams per liter. And then for total phosphorus, Pinellas County's total phosphorus concentration in the discharge reclaimed water ranged from 0.02 to 1.97 milligrams per liter. And for St. Pete, it ranged from 0.56 to 6.12, including those outliers. So the mean, overall, the mean for Pinellas County was a 0.43 milligrams per liter, and the mean for the city of St. Petersburg plant was 1.88 milligrams per liter. So as was expected, obviously, the more treatment, the more nutrient removal. But what was surprising is that the results of the data showed that the secondary treated reclaimed water for total nitrogen was actually 9 times higher than that of Pinellas County. And the total phosphorus concentrations for secondary treatment were 5 times higher than that of tertiary treated water. Next slide, please. Okay, so some of the findings in the literature review sought to compare nutrients in stormwater runoff versus nutrients in reclaimed water. Now, stormwater research is evaluated through EMCs, or event mean concentrations, which is the average concentration of a pollutant in annual rainfall events, as classified by the various land use types. So for Florida in 2011, the EMCs for total nitrogen for the land use types of residential medium density and residential high density. So as it pertained to my research, these land use types make up 73% of the Joe's Creek watershed. So comparing the EMCs to the total nitrogen of the 2 treatment plants show that the tertiary total nitrogen mean of 2.16 was close to the stormwater EMC of 2.10. Whereas the secondary total nitrogen mean of 18.6 far exceeded the EMC of stormwater total nitrogen. And the authors claim, well, several, but the authors claim that I was looking at is that total nitrogen concentrations in reclaimed water are 2 to 15 times higher than stormwater runoff, and that holds true for this research. Now, when we look for total phosphorus, which is the bottom section of the slide, the EMCs for total phosphorus, same land use types, residential medium density and high density, are 0.3 and 0.5 milligrams per liter, respectively. And the total phosphorus mean concentration of 0.43 milligrams per liter from Pinellas County's tertiary treated plant is within the range, yet the secondary total phosphorus mean of 1.88 also exceeded the EMCs for stormwater for total phosphorus concentrations. And the authors claim for total phosphorus is that the concentrations in reclaimed water are 2 to 60 times that of stormwater runoff. And that holds true for this research as well. And as an aside, during the literature review, there was a survey done in 2010 of 50 wastewater treatment plants in Florida. that provided reclaimed water, and the range for total nitrogen was 0.13 to 29, and then for total phosphorus, 0.02 to 6. So on each of those occasions, that data included their outliers as well. So similar to the research that I did. Next slide, please. So separate from the discharge concentrations of reclaimed water directly of what's being applied to the lawns, we looked at the comparison of total nitrogen across the creek monitoring sites. So this is ambient water quality monitoring and looking at the specific creeks. So during this 6-year study period, you can see from the data presented there from the 3 comparisons that the 2 control sites are lower in total nitrogen concentrations than Bond Creek and Miles Creek. And Miles Creek, if you'll remember, is within the secondary treated reclaimed water service area. And that one has the highest total nitrogen concentrations for this study period. Next slide. So this is similar. This is looking at the total phosphorus across the creek monitoring sites. And similar results, the control sites are measurably lower, and Miles Creek has the highest total phosphorus concentrations for the study period from 2009 to 2014. Next slide. So several hypotheses were part of the research, but here are the 2 main results. The first was expected that there would be higher nutrient concentrations in the creek within the secondary treated reclaimed water service over that of the creek within the tertiary area or the tertiary treated reclaimed water. And the research results did support that. And both Miles Creek and Bond Creek were expected to have higher concentrations than either of the control sites, and the research results confirmed that too. Next slide, please. So these are some general conclusions from the research. Granted, it's kind of hard to summarize it all. The thesis was 132 pages, but these are the general points. And analysis overall revealed that reclaimed water used for irrigation is a potentially significant source of nutrient pollution in urban watersheds. And some of the ways to address that, of course, is, as previously mentioned, education is critical. So understanding those overuse practices, inadequate treatment levels, perhaps, water restrictions, education and enforcement of certain policies on a local scale. Next slide, please. So this one is perhaps the most telling visual, and it is the difference in how much total nitrogen is applied to these landscapes through reclaimed irrigation. Now, these calculations were based on University of Florida Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences, so UF-IFAS, their recommendations of 3/4 of an inch of irrigation per watering, and based on the City of St. Pete's voluntary restriction of no more than 3 days per week. So 3 days per week, putting down 3/4 of an inch watering. And taking a look at those differences there, you can see pretty significant how much would be applied to landscapes in the 2 service areas. And for some analogy or comparison, the annual limits of recommendations for St. Augustine grass, which is the most common grass type in our area, is 4 to 5 pounds of nitrogen. And the annual limit recommendations for Bahia and Zoysia, which are other popular grass types, are less than that of St. Augustine. And I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with the Pinellas County Fertilizer Ordinance, but it limits application of nitrogen to 4 pounds per 1,000 square feet per year. So simply by irrigation of reclaimed water from City of St. Petersburg, one property alone can be applying 5 times more than what is recommended or allowed. And this does not even include any additional fertilizer that property owners may be using throughout the year. Now, while I was a student at USF, I had an associate, a friend, another student who was a couple of years behind me, and she did her research study, her thesis based off of mine. So she actually went and interviewed or attempted to interview all 172 customers in each of the areas. And what she found out from her thesis research is that for the same study area, 60% of the residents who use reclaimed water from Pinellas County also use fertilizer. And 73% of the residents who use reclaimed water from the City of St. Pete also use fertilizer. Next slide, please. Now, there were some limitations of this research, as there is in any research project. And basically, it's just the message here is more that further research will benefit watershed managers and the general public's consciousness of addressing nutrient pollutions in local water bodies. So that's pretty much it for that slide. Thank you. And so recommendations, this was kind of after everything. The research project highlighted potential pollutant sources from reclaimed irrigation practices within the Joes Creek watershed. So it definitely highlights the need for technological improvements, installing water meters or volume meters on service ports, supporting implementation of control programs such as restrictive application policies, implementation of education and enforcement programs, and or an increase in rates to discourage overuse. And of course, as the previous slide mentioned, we definitely recommend continued research to assist those watershed managers in addressing nutrient pollution reduction and meeting their requirements for state water quality standards. Next slide. And that's it. Pretty much my wonderful employer, Pinellas County government, has a great tuition reimbursement program, and I would not have a master's degree if it wasn't for that benefit. And then, of course, a big thank you to both utilities, Pinellas County Utilities, and the City of St. Pete for sharing their data so that I could complete this project. Any questions?
Thank you, Anamarie. Are there any questions, comments for Anamarie?
Yeah, this is Bill Veach from Fort Myers Beach. Pretty fascinating. Now, it seems like part is education, letting people know if they're using this reclaimed water, they don't need to fertilize. But another interesting point is there a way, would there be a way to mix or dilute this reclaimed water to the point where it would be, the numbers would be low enough where it's more the recommended fertilizer, and then those nutrients would uptake into the plants instead of going into the runoff?
Those are definitely great questions. Yes, education is a big piece of it, and I will tell you from personal experience of being in the education business, I guess you could say, or addressing nutrient pollution. A lot of the workshops that we did, partnership with our utilities department, most people surprisingly don't know what water is coming out of their sprinklers. So that right there is a huge gap. And surprising, because you can have potable water, you can have well water, you can have reclaimed water, you can be tapped into your community stormwater pond. Now, obviously, those folks typically know because that's in their backyard. But there is something to be said for expanding the outreach so that people know where they're getting their water from, and hence what nutrients are already in your water to help you reduce that additional nutrient source of applying traditional fertilizers. As for diluting the treated reclaimed water, that specifically goes to the operations of a wastewater treatment plant and what kind of technologies that they can implement. I know Pinellas County has 9 different wastewater treatment plants that do provide reclaimed water. And St. Pete is the only one that is secondary treatment. All the rest are different levels of advanced wastewater treatment. And even though I would say it's more based on technology to be able to reduce the nutrient content even further, but there are tools out there for citizens to know, at least to have a baseline of what's in your reclaimed water. And Pinellas County, with our GIS analysts, we created a map with the utilities department, and it's on our website. It's a user-friendly map that you can just kind of look at your region of where you live in Pinellas County and find your polygon. And when you click on that polygon, it tells you how much nitrogen on average for the year, how much nitrogen is in that reclaimed water. And then it gives you the recommendations based on IFAS recommendations, what minimal amount you may need to apply, or none at all if you live in St. Pete. But thank you for the question.
Just one more quick question. I don't mean to monopolize you here, but how much nitrogen is in rainwater compared to these numbers?
So that's a good question. That was one of the limitations of the research. We did not do a direct comparison. There's a difference between what's naturally in rain, well, not naturally, but what's in rainwater that falls directly on your landscape versus what hits your roof and then runs off, picking up other nutrients and nutrients along the way. So we did not incorporate that as part of our research. I'm sure that information's out there, but I did not have it in the presentation. I'm sorry.
All right, thank you very much.
Indirectly to that point, Anamarie, I think that, it was also surprising for the management committee to kind of hear, oh my goodness, how much higher the nutrient levels are in reclaimed water versus regular storm water, even in a residential development area where you would have, of course, rainfall, but combined with fertilizer, pet waste, and whatever. Reclaimed water still came out as more polluting. And then thinking about how much, if you just spray, even with those water conservation of 3 days per week, how much that equates to 20 times more than what the plants need. And if the plants aren't uptaking it, then that is essentially waste that is, finding its way sometimes into waterways. So, one of the things I think that the CHAP has been trying to do is just push the idea of, we need to be thoughtful. Like, of course, we want to be careful in promoting reclaimed water use as a water conservation strategy to not use potable water for irrigation. But we also need to maybe be thoughtful in talking with our utilities and our local community leaders about when they're building out those reclaimed lines, where are they distributing that water to? Can we make sure that we put it with adequate separation from surface waters, so that it isn't directly running off into surface waters? And then the level of treatment that you pointed out, maybe we need to be thinking about treating reclaimed water to higher standards. So, education is certainly part of it, but it's so hard with our population turning over. And Punta Gorda, we had heard a statistic that everyone here lives here an average of 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't leave because they move away.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's really hard.
Is similar. Yeah, Pinellas County is similar. I mean, we are 98% developed, so the infrastructure is already there. We're not going to change that piece. I mean, yes, we look at green infrastructure and implementing those practices when you look at redevelopment when that occurs, but for the most part, we're built out. So all we can do is have that consciousness to our citizens, to our customers. And you're right, people don't stay in the same place forever. I mean, people move here, but then they move other places. And that's why for Pinellas County specifically, we looked at it from the urban watershed standpoint. No matter where you are, stormwater runoff is getting into your local waterways. I mean, there's no way around it. Pinellas County, we are a peninsula on a peninsula, and we're 98% built out. So every piece of pavement drains to a local water body. Now, whether that's, a Tampa Bay or Gulf of Mexico, or whether it's your community stormwater pond where your HOA and you as a paying member are responsible for the maintenance of that and reducing that pollution input. Really, the stormwater runoff is a big piece, and that's why it was discussed, because in very few circumstances is rainfall falling right on the landscape, but then that's more than what's pavement. No, rainfall is hitting pavement 98% of the time. So that's where the stormwater runoff comparison to reclaimed water becomes a little more eye-opening. Any other questions? Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And I hope the information is helpful. Like I said, it is published in the Water Environment Research Journal. So go check it out.
Thank you, Anamarie. Much appreciated.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
You too.